I literally Googled Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu near me. I was a nerd, I was fat, but what really changed was I got the shit bullied out of me. Unconscious on the floor, just blood on the wall. I was like, well, I can change that. And then I changed that. You need a partner to help you drill. So mat time at the end of the day is gonna get you better. And then if you have mat time with intention, so if you go to a training session with the intention of, I'm gonna get better at this, and practicing whatever that may be, you're gonna get even better.
All right, great. So welcome back to Be Frank Podcast, episode 23. We have a special guest. He is very good at brown belt, and then he didn't want me to say number one contender in the brown belt in the world, but I think he is. And then special guest Austin Morris. Thank you for coming.
Hey man, no problem.
How are you doing?
I am fantastic.
So how was the AGF tournament yesterday? Was that yesterday?
I think it was Saturday.
Oh, Saturday.
Yeah. So a few days ago. It was a blast. I love competing for AGF. I've competed for them for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So it was just a natural progression. They always run a pretty smooth event. Even though it was their first one, it'll get better and better and better.
So can you kind of explain to people who doesn't know about AGF, like a pro card, right? Like AGF is American Grappling Federation?
Yep, federation.
And then what is AGF, and then what is a pro card?
So AGF is just a tournament promotion. There are a lot of different ones, but what makes AGF just a little bit different is that they, when they started, really catered to the Midwest, or I guess do Oklahoma is considered
Midwest.
them. They're the South,
Yeah.
But if we live here, we're the South, right?
Yeah.
But if you're looking in, it's the Midwest.
Yeah, right.
There weren't a lot of tournaments here back when I started, and when a lot of us started. AGF was one of those first ones to cater to the Midwest specifically. So they run regular tournaments, but then this was a pro card. So A, the winner gets paid, which is pretty nice. And B, there's only a few matches. So they did a lightweight bracket and under 175. And then they did a heavyweight and absolute bracket over 175.
Yeah.
And there were only 8 people in each bracket. And then the winner got paid out $1,000.
How did they choose those 8 people?
I believe there was an application process. So you were either invited or you applied to do it. You asked to do it. This was their first one, so they're still ironing out some of the kinks. I'd imagine it will be more similar to like Fight to Win, where you would send in an application and they would pick their matchups as they, expand.
Yeah, I saw that video like you posted on the Instagram, and you're like against a match with like a big old guy, and then like you're climbing in the back.
He was so big, man. Like Jorge is I've competed against him before.
Yeah.
And I think the last time it was 3 years ago maybe, and I had an underhook, and then the next thing I know, he picked me up and then threw me on the floor.
Oh. People can do that to you too.
Yes. I think after that I eked out like by the skin of my teeth a knee bar. Mm-hmm. But no, what stands out is the fact he just picked me up and then threw me on the floor after that. So I was much happier with this outcome, being able to showcase some wrestling and get a win in a much more dominant fashion.
Yeah, that was cool. So those people who doesn't know about you, like if you're like if you're making a website today, and then if you're like have to write about yourself of a bio, what would you say in your bio?
Well, I would hire somebody much more talented than me to do that, for one. But if I had to go about it, I'd probably start. Grew up in Phoenix until I was like 11 or 12, so this cold weather is murderous. I moved to Ohio for like 2 or 3 years, and then I moved here in high school, like my freshman year of high school. I was a nerd. I was fat. Like I didn't do much of anything. And then I started getting into shape. I started running a lot, cycling a lot. And then when I was 16, I had a car. I had something with wheels that moved forward when I told it to. So I guess that's a vehicle. It was like a 1997 minivan. And it still had a cassette player in it. Like, man, this thing was rough.
Yeah.
But that's when I started jiu-jitsu because I was bored. I didn't have anything to do. And
You were like high school?
yeah, I was 16.
Cool.
And I literally Googled Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu near me.
Huh.
And I just picked the first one that came up on Google. And that happened to be Redline Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Got you.
And so I was there for like 7-8 years, up through my brown belt. I met my like number one training partner, Carl, and we would travel around to tournaments together. He was basically my coach when I was trying out MMA, doing amateur MMA. And then to meet my own goals, I transitioned over to the Forge and have had so many opportunities there that it freaks me out sometimes when I think about it. And I've just grown my grappling there. It's really been the main part of my life since I started. I did other things. I worked. I was a personal trainer. I got 2 science degrees, 2 bachelors of science when I was in college, but I don't use them for anything. I just do jiu-jitsu. It's way more fun. Trust me. If you can make it work, it's way more fun to do something like this than to get 2 degrees.
You did Ironman too, right?
Yeah.
So when was that?
That was 2019, I want to say. I think it was 2019, right before the pandemic hit. And that was a lot of fun too. I'd love to do another one. I was signed up to do one this year, but they canceled it. It was in Alaska, so there were weather issues.
That could be super hot, I guess. But I think it's interesting to me. You said you were like lazy before, you're fat and all that kind of stuff. Like people who are very in shape, and like for example, like Zevin, like he used to be fat, and then like I myself, like I was super fat. And then like, like a lazy and all that kind of stuff. And then something changed. And then like, like whenever people like in shape in the high school, like a childhood, like they're like a not good shape right now. Mm-hmm. Or like, that's what I see from other people. But like, what do you think what changed for you from that lazy to like overweight to, I need to get in shape? Or is that, what moment did you have?
Well, I don't know if it was laziness. I was very disciplined in other aspects. Like I was a musician. Cool. I played music for 10, 12 years. I played a multitude of instruments. I played piano. I played guitar, bass. I dabbled in percussion.
That's cool.
Saxophone. I had to play the oboe. But just in physical demands, I wasn't well versed in it. Like I wasn't really forced to play sports or anything. None of my friends played sports. But what really changed was I got the shit bullied out of me. Like I got bullied in school. And like not to a dramatic point, like I wasn't getting jumped, but I didn't want to go to school. I do not look back at high school with fond memories. So really I'm just stubborn, and so I got bullied and I was like, well, I can change that, and then I changed that.
I bet you can bully them right now. But
yeah, but that wouldn't be very nice.
But why did you decide to do jiu-jitsu rather than like boxing or kickboxing instead?
Well, really, I don't have an answer for you. It was just the first thing that popped up. It was like, oh, why don't you do that? I was like, okay.
Did you like watch like a jiu-jitsu video or anything?
No, I think I read a book that mentioned it.
Yeah.
And that's the end. I read a book. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. I never really had an interest in boxing or kickboxing, but I'd had like friends that were wrestlers, so
like a jiu-jitsu is cool.
Jiu-jitsu seemed close enough to that. Might as well give it a shot.
Yeah. So whenever you went to the first time at the red line, like what was the kind of like experience for you? Like were you like didn't know anything or?
Oh, it was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, a lot of the gyms were a little bit rougher. The biggest, I think, hurdle to overcome was getting this close to somebody else for like an hour. And then also because the gym was kind of small, they had an MMA class at the same time as the basics class.
Got you.
And this was actually my first introduction to now my best friend, Carl. But during one of my first basics classes, there was no like wall, there was no separation between the two classes. It's just one big mat. And we're doing the basics class. I'm trying to pay attention because, as you know, as a beginner, as a white belt, it's just a blur. You have no idea what any of these words mean.
Yeah.
You don't know why you're doing any of this.
Yeah.
You're just trying to hang on tight.
Right.
Then we hear, you ever hit a watermelon or like thrown a watermelon against the floor?
Yes.
You know that sound, like that wet
Yeah.
impact sound?
Yeah.
We heard that
Yeah.
and we turned around and we see the MMA class. I think it was Carl was there, Jesse Stone was there, and maybe one or two other guys. But one of the other guys was unconscious on the floor. Oh. And there was just blood on the wall. And so that was the introduction to combat sports.
What was your reaction? What was like, is this like, holy shit, or like?
It was that one, because it was a full basics class. There were like 10 or 15 of us, and we all turned around and went, huh, okay.
So like you can handle it. Like, did you go back after that?
Truth to be told, it was hard to convince myself to go back, but I did, and it turns out I'm actually pretty good at grappling once we got past like the first 5 or 6 months. So I did go back. Carl ended up being one of my best training partners, and I'm ultimately glad that I did.
So that that leads me to the question that I had from the Instagram story, that what's something that you wish you knew when you start training first?
What is something that I wish I knew? Don't be as stubborn.
Don't be as stubborn.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I spent a lot of my white and blue belt time trying to force a square peg into a round hole. I wanted to be like X person or Y person, and you really have to find out what your own learning style is and how you like to approach getting new information and practicing that new information, and it'll help you progress so much faster. For example, we both know Jake.
Yeah.
He can watch a video and just do stuff.
That's what he was saying. Yeah.
I wish I had that capability. But I don't. It took me a while to figure out I have to have a plan.
Yeah.
And I have to drill something at least, 5,000 times before it fits right into my brain.
Yeah.
And I can apply it efficiently and correctly.
Huh.
If I had tried to find that out and spent more time developing that part of how I learn, I could have progressed so much faster than I did.
Gotcha.
With less heartache.
So you drill like many times, right? So like whenever you're going to jiu-jitsu class, you drill like maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes for each move, and then that's not enough, right?
For me, it's not enough.
So like how do you drill multiple session? I guess like how do you practice repetition in the jiu-jitsu?
So if I'm in a class, it's important that I have a partner that I like, but we both have the same goal. So we can set numbers like, okay, we're going to do 10 each, 10 on each side. And we do that until, professor says stop.
Right.
And then outside of that, at open mats, I go to a lot of training sessions a week. My body just physically can't take training hard like that every single training session. So I'll take those open mats where I'm not training hard and I'll drill. I'll grab somebody and say, hey, I need you to start in this position. And I'll practice what I want to practice for 3 minutes of the 6-minute round. And then I'll let them decide what they want to do for the 3 minutes. If they want to roll, I'll roll with them. But if they want to practice a different position, a different move, then it's their turn to practice. I'm not going to commandeer a whole round, but...
Gotcha.
And then the second part of that is positional startup. So when you get good enough, you hit like that 5 to 6 year mark, you can start in different positions, especially with lower belts or less experienced people, and drill on them with, I guess it would be non-consensual drilling. I can say, hey, I want you to start in the top of the mount. And if I escape or if I get to a dominant position, we're going to reset with you in the top of the mount. I'm practicing my mount escapes and my sweeps. Gotcha. I probably have just one that I'm practicing. But you're practicing, your mount control or your mount submissions. So you can reach a point in skill where you can drill without drilling. Gotcha. And that's where it gets a lot easier. It just takes a lot of hard work to get there.
That makes sense. So you said like when you get better, right? Like 5-6 years and you can start doing that, right? So whenever you started doing like, let's say first 2 years, what were you doing to get better, like get better faster than most people?
Well, I had the luxury of being a teenager with almost no responsibilities. So as long as I was getting an 85 or higher in school, and I was going to work, I just spent the rest of my time training. I would do 2 or 3 a days. And then after that, when I was in college, again, very few responsibilities. You'd be surprised at how easy college courses can be sometimes. So as long as I was getting an 85 or higher, right, and I was making money while I was at work, I would train 2 or 3 times a day. When I was in high school, I would get up at 6, go to the early morning class, go to school. Depending on how long my lunch was, I could go to the lunchtime class, train, and then I could go back to school, go to work for a few hours, and then I could go train in the evening too.
So is that like a best way to do it for like a people who are starting out, is like going to multiple classes, or like because sometimes like like when you train like Muay Thai or kickboxing or something like that, like you can go to training classes, but also like you can do shadow boxing, like a punch in the bags and stuff, like on your free time. Then like you just drill by yourself, and then you go to a training. So it's kind of different. But like particularly jiu-jitsu, would you recommend to go to the class?
I would, yes, because you really need a partner. There are a few movements that you can practice on your own. Shrimping, turtling, weird movements, bear crawls, sled pushes, stuff like that will help. But for specific problems that need specific solutions, you need a partner to help you drill. Gotcha. So mat time at the end of the day is going to get you better. And then if you have mat time with intention, so if you go to a training session with the intention of, I'm going to get better at this, and practicing whatever that may be, you're going to get even better, depending on how your brain works. Gotcha. If you're one of the people that can just see it and do it, I applaud you. I wish that I could be like you. However, when I was a blue belt, one of the situations that I really liked was spinning into a knee bar from bottom half guard. I did 1,000 repetitions on each side with that particular movement in one training session. Me and my partner, he practiced arm locks, I practiced knee bars, and we just did them in sets of 20 until we were done.
1,000.
How
long did it take?
It took a few hours.
Oh, damn.
We took a break in the middle for some food. We took a break at 500. But point being, we got the reps in because that was how we both learned.
Got you.
Mat time with intention is the best way to get better. If you just go in with the, I'm going to see what's going to happen mentality, it's going to be not hard. You're going to get better. You're just not going to get better as fast. Because instead of making a structure for yourself, you're letting somebody else make structure for you. And what if their structure isn't what you need?
Exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of like a new era of like MMA stuff, right? Like, cause like a lot of people say boxing, kickboxing, stand up, put your hands up. But a lot of guys these days, like from like UFC, like Sean O'Malley or like whoever, like hands down. And this coach didn't tell me to hands up, and then like try to be that kind of stuff. So I think it's just like a lot of things changing. Like I totally understand what you're trying to say about that stuff. But also I've done like 1,000 burpees and stuff. It's like hard. It takes like 3, it takes an hour and 40 minutes to do 1,000 burpees because you can just do 10. But what made you what is your main passion for the jiu-jitsu you can train hard every day?
I can't train hard every day.
You do though.
Man, if I train hard every day, I would break.
Yeah.
I like problem solving, and at the end of the day, like all my training partners are my friends. So I try to approach my training sessions, even the competitive ones, it's me hanging out with my friends. Why would I not want to do that?
That makes sense. And then so Jake was here to do the podcast with me too, and then he was telling me he doesn't do no cardio, right? But you do a lot of cardio. So tell me about what you think about his approach about cardio, and then what do you think about your approach about the cardio?
Well, it's all personal preference. I like cardio. There's something deep inside of me that probably stems out of self-hate or derision that makes me do a lot of cardio. I just like it. Jake does not like it. Neither does Jack.
Yeah.
They will stubbornly just persist in around, getting paler and paler and paler, but never give up.
Yeah.
I like the peace of mind of knowing I've reached my upper limit of cardio before, and it's not that bad. I can push through it.
Yeah.
I also like to eat. It's a good way to create a calorie deficit.
Yeah. So do you do weightlifting? Can you kind of walk me through how many times you do lift weights, or you do cardio, you do training session, maybe walk me through a week of what your training schedule look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So Fridays are always generally my rest days, because if I'm competing, if it's a smaller local tournament, I want to be rested before the Saturday or the Sunday that I compete. For bigger tournaments, I take more days off before that tournament happens. But for a local tournament like AGF, a Friday, one day, I'm usually good to go. So Fridays, I don't do anything. If I do something, I'm going to be drilling. I'm not going to be rolling super hard. I don't do extra cardio. I sleep in. I don't do extra weightlifting. But besides that, I usually start my week on a Monday. I'm going to do 40 minutes to an hour of cardio. I used to like to run. My hips hurt a lot now. Don't do any running. I usually do an assault bike for 40 minutes to an hour, regular cycling, or swimming. Those are my favorite forms of cardio. I'll do that in the morning, and then in the evening, I train. Sometimes I train at noon on a Monday too, but generally my training is going to be in the evening, and then when I get home, I'm doing my stretching, go to bed. Tuesdays.
How long do you stretch?
30 minutes. I usually throw on a TV show and stretch during that.
That's cool.
After that, on Tuesdays, strength training. I only strength train like 3 days a week, and it's about an hour to an hour and a half. I can shorten it down, but I like it. So
do you do push-pull leg or just like full body?
It's push-pull. I do legs every time I do strength training.
Gotcha.
I don't go heavy every time. I'll probably go heavy once, maybe twice a week if I'm feeling salty. But I do a lot of rehab stuff. So band, balance work, stuff like that, because I don't want to have knee surgery again.
Gotcha.
So Tuesday, I'll do strength training. And then I also train jiu-jitsu twice. Sometimes we'll go train in Dallas. Sometimes I'll train in the morning at 11, and then in the evenings we do training again. And none of these jiu-jitsu training sessions, unless we're in Dallas, are super hard in the paint. They're very low impact. Wednesdays, cardio again, training at noon, training in the evening. Thursdays, lifting again, training at 11, training in the evening. But this training session is as hard as possible.
Because Friday is a rest day.
Yes.
Makes
and
sense.
It's our competition practice.
Gotcha.
That's another reason Friday is a rest day, so that I can go as hard as I want in competition practice and push my heart rate. I can push everything I have and leave it all there and practice doing that. And then I can rest and recover on Friday. Friday, not doing anything. Saturday, cardio again, and then open mat. And then if we're getting ready for a big event, competition practice. So I'm rested from Friday, competition practice again on Saturday. Sunday, strength training. I'll do jiu-jitsu in the afternoon, about 1. And then open mat Sunday evening at about 5. And that's the whole week.
So the open mat, do you go to same gym every time?
Yeah, so our weekend routine is pretty set in stone. We like to go as a group because at the end of the day, it's hanging out with your friends.
Right.
Why would you not go with your friends? So Saturdays, we usually go to Kudos, BJJ, at 11. And then Sundays is the Christian Karate Academy at 5. And occasionally we'll swap out Saturday for Outsiders Combat Club, depending on where everyone wants to go, where the general community is at.
So like you left, you do that much training. Like are you strict diet or you eat whatever you want?
I'm very strict with my diet. I eat a lot, but it's very clean, and I do count all my calories.
You do? How many calories do you eat a day? Are you like eat like organic food or like vegan or like what?
Oh, I teach jiu-jitsu for a living, man. I don't do the organic stuff. I can't afford that. I like to cook a lot, so I'll buy ingredients and I'll cook twice a week, and then I'll eat leftovers for the week. However, calorie-wise, if I'm maintaining, it's about 3,500 calories a day. I'll up that. If I'm training really hard, I'll lower it if I'm not training very hard. I have a heart rate monitor that I wear when I roll, and none of these things are super accurate. I don't think, like sleep monitors and heart rate monitors, they're all right, but they're not super accurate. What I'm looking for is changes. So if I'm consistent in wearing it, and I know my body, I've been doing this a long time, I can see or guesstimate how much I need to eat to recover from each training session.
So you like seems like whenever I'm listening to what you talk about your training regimen, it's like kind of like most thing you do is like to think about like a recovery rather than like a muscle growth or like a strength, that kind of stuff. When like how long you been doing that, focusing recovery rather than I guess increasing strength, I guess?
Well, I periodize my training around tournaments. So if we have a fight camp, if we have a camp going like we do now in preparation for PANs, I'm not trying to make strength gains. I'm not trying to get stronger. I'm not trying to get faster. At most, I'm trying to increase my VO2 max, and that's about it. I'm trying it's how well you can use oxygen. So it's how well your body utilizes the oxygen that you're taking in. It's aerobic capacity.
Oh, gotcha.
Cardio.
Yeah.
Like Zevin's through the roof, I can already tell you. But I'm not trying to get better. I'm in those areas. I'm trying to get better skill-wise. I'm trying to make a game plan. I'm trying to get better at specific moves or skills or submissions. But outside of a training camp, that's when I'm trying to get stronger or faster or develop power. And I'll do that in 8 to 12 week increments.
Gotcha.
I really like 5x5 programs. So I'll run some variation of a 5x5 program to build strength. In camp, like I said, I'm not trying to make those gains. I'm just trying to make sure my joints don't explode.
Gotcha.
I just want to be strong enough that I can grapple as much as I need to.
Yeah.
And I do preach about recovery a lot because I was very bad at it. And Carl, he would tell me when I was coming up that I needed to focus on that more. And I listened a little bit, but generally I ignored it. Grapplers, we have no off season. We're terrible at recovery. And I wish I had listened more. But ever since my knee surgery, that's when I've really started honing in on if I take a day off and I just drill, or if I take 2 days off and recover, I'm not getting worse. And my training partners aren't getting better than me necessarily. Because I think that's the big fear that a lot of us have, especially if we're not competing a lot.
Yeah.
If I don't have an event coming up,
Yeah.
my thoughts aren't, oh, I'm getting worse. It's, oh man, my training partners are getting better than me right now. And I'm not there. I'm going to get back and they're going to beat the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I can't have that.
Yeah.
And it's just not true. It's all in your head. 2 days, it's not going to make a difference, especially if you're not feeling good.
Yeah. So that you saying that focusing on recovery, is that just eating healthy, resting one day, also the stretching?
Eating, resting, and stretching
Gotcha.
are the biggest ones, especially stretching. If not stretching, when I say stretching, I kind of mean all-encompassing flexibility work and mobility work. So moving your joints through these ranges of motion that you consistently do in grappling. And I focus a lot on my hips and my knees because those are generally where my problem areas are. However, shoulders are also really important, being able to rotate every plane of motion.
Yeah.
Elbows, wrists are really big. So being able to stay strong and flexible in these weird angles that we consistently use is pretty important, and it'll keep stuff from locking up.
Do you like watch YouTube and stuff to like stretch, or like you have your routine?
I have my routine. I like some YouTube stuff if I'm looking for something new, but I actually see a physical therapist and he'll work out what like I can't do, and then he'll give me the stretches and the exercises that I need to do on my own.
Oh,
and I'll
gotcha.
just consistently do those, and they help a lot because for me, I have some weird imbalances. When they fixed my ACL, they did a hamstring graft. So they took a piece of my hamstring and made me a new ACL.
Huh.
My right leg now is much more flexible than my left leg. That's
a new one?
Yes, yeah. Because they took that hamstring tendon and they only took a piece of it to make the new ligament in my knee. But now I'm way more flexible on that side.
Interesting.
than on my left side. So my right side, if I'm doing any sort of hamstring work or hamstring stretch, I can pull that leg almost all the way over my head. And then on my left side, I'll get to like a 45-degree angle and it'll just stop. So
cool.
Addressing stuff like that is important because it'll lead to weird problems down the road, like weird hip problems or weird back problems.
Makes sense. So Is that the kind of reason you like leg rock classes, like legs, like a jiu-jitsu stuff, or why do you like leg stuff?
Oh, well, I like leg locks because it is sentimental. That's where I started. The gym that I started at, they taught leg locks to white belts. And etiquette wise, that's kind of frowned upon in jiu-jitsu a lot. So in that regard, I was lucky that I got to learn that right out the gate. And personally, I think it's the right choice. I think that when you hold off on that information until you're allowed to use it in competition, which is about purple or brown belt, depending on the organization, you're not familiar enough with the positions or the submissions or what it feels like to know when to tap. And it leads to a lot of injuries, which gives you this misconception that leg locks are dangerous. Leg locks, they lead to injuries. And they do. Like, they definitely do. However...
Yeah, you say that every time. Like, if you feel something, tap it. If you heard it, it's too late.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So when you learn that early, you're going to be safer. The more familiar you are with a position for longer, the safer you're going to be. I was 6 months in learning different leg locks, toe holds and heel hooks and ankle locks. I've never been injured by a leg lock. My major injuries come from me being a dumbass outside of jiu-jitsu generally, or freak accidents like a finger getting caught in a shirt or something like that.
Yeah.
So I really like them because that's what I started with. That's what I'm good at. That's what I practice the longest. Guard transitions, and getting to leg locks.
Got you. That's cool. I was always wondering about that, because like, why is he like that all the time? But also like, so when people start jiu-jitsu, right, this is kind of like a brutal, like 6 month or whatever, or like year maybe. Like, I think jiu-jitsu is like a sports that you don't really get good very fast. So like then like people go to white belt to blue belt, right? Like what is like what is the things as a coach, what is teacher, like what do you look for people who become a blue belt? Like what does the white belt needs to do or need to know to become a blue belt?
So it's going to be different gym to gym. A lot of gyms have a curriculum. Even we have a curriculum. We just don't put it on you as the student to have to learn that. You're not in school. You've already probably been to high school. There's no need to make you have homework. If you ask questions, we'll answer them. We'll help you however we can. But the curriculum is our responsibility to teach you. And as a student, it's your job to show up and pay attention.
Right.
So that's the easy job.
Yeah.
It's our job to actually teach it.
Yeah.
So other gyms, they'll have set curriculums that they'll print out and they'll give you.
Yeah.
They're all going to be pretty much the same. From white to blue belt, it's going to be a lot of escapes. And by their nature, knowing an escape, you have to know a submission. So it'll be base submissions like a triangle, an arm lock, a rear naked choke, escapes from those submissions, a few escapes from positions, especially bad positions, getting into closed guard, generally, getting to a guard. Because in a guard, you can be safe or relatively safe when you're on the bottom of the fight. And then a few sweeps, how to get from the bottom of the fight to the top of the fight.
Gotcha.
And then past those techniques, it's really about who are you? Are you a good training partner? Can I put you with a new student and you're not going to hurt them? Can I put you with a girl? Can I put you with a woman? Can I put you with the 12-year-old boy who is too big to be in the kids' classes, but still a kid and needs to come to the adult classes? Are you a good enough partner that you can teach them, that you're not going to hurt them, that you're not going to get a weird ego thing if a girl gets on top and starts winning? Are you going to try and throw her into a wall? Like, I have to, those are the other metrics of getting promoted, because we don't want to reward someone who is a terrible training partner. That doesn't help us and it doesn't help anybody else. So why would we do it?
That makes sense. And then like it's kind of like I've heard like I don't know. I think it's to be true. Like it's like forge is hard to get promoted. Correct?
Yeah, it takes a little bit longer, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of it is just because we have a lot of different high-ranking instructors, so we have to come together and talk, and it's like herding cats. Not a bad thing, but it's like herding cats.
Yeah.
And then second is we have high expectations. Our student base, you're an adult, you're not a child. I don't need to give you homework. I don't need to tell you where you can and can't go. I don't need to tell you what to do unless you're on the mat.
Yeah.
If you're on the mat, I do expect you to listen.
Yeah.
But outside of that, we have high expectations. You're an adult. You're a skilled adult. You have enough disposable income that you want to come here to the Forge as a safe place and learn a new skill. Well, we're going to give you the respect and assume that you have enough interest or can take on the responsibility to learn that. And so we're going to hold you to a higher expectation than some other places. We're not just looking to take your money. We want to teach you something.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good thing. And I think like it's more like more meaningful to get promotion, I think. And then like honestly, like I've been to like a different gym and like open mats and stuff, and then like I roll with like a purple belt forge, and I don't know what I'm doing. Like they'll just do whatever to me, and then I roll with like they're like, okay, cool. Like they ask me like how long am I doing? Like yeah, I've been like almost a year or so, you know, like seriously doing jiu-jitsu. And then like so like you when you start like and they're purple belt or whatever. I was like, this is very different, Jim.
Yeah.
So I was like curious about that, and then like I was asking people, and then like that's to be true. But I think it's cool, like you know, like I think a lot of people go to Forge, have a pride of like we have like a killers in the group. So I think everybody trains hard, and then it's a family aspect of it. Like people go lunch together, whatever. I think I like that fact of it. So I think I was just curious, you know, what you thought about it. And then, so how long have you been teaching jiu-jitsu?
I've been training since I was 16, so that's about 10 years now. I've been teaching, I think, for eight of those 10 years, maybe a little longer, maybe 9. It took me about a year to get my blue belt, and that was under a very different system and structure, but it took me about a year. And then when I was a blue belt, I was helping out with kids classes and teaching kids, and then I moved on to teaching adults and doing private lessons and still teaching kids, and I just kept doing that.
Do you like teaching jiu-jitsu?
I love it. It's so much more fun. It is an absolute blast to teach, and it helps me. If I'm going to teach something, I have to know it. I can't teach something I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I could. Wouldn't be good. It would not end well, but I could try. But
yeah.
I like to teach stuff that I know, which means I have to really think about whatever the principle or the concept or the technique is that I'm teaching and know it on an intrinsic level. And that makes me a lot better. So if I'm teaching something, even if I don't use it, I know a lot about it and can utilize it very effectively.
I think it's so cool. Like you guys, like I went to many different gyms before, but like you guys like have like plan already before the class, and then like it's a detail. It's like instructional detail. Like it's not like they're like, okay, here's a triangle, you do this, let's drill, right? Because you guys have like, okay, first of all, you have to, you know, take the hand and then shove it, and then, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, okay, legs, you have to be not on the like neck, on the spine or whatever. Like you guys just do that, and then like you already know that before you teach. Like, do you prepare like a night before the class, or like do you just already know, so you just teach it that way?
The way I do it, and I know the way Livingston does it, is that if you go to our house, there will be a shelf or a desk in my case with a bunch of notebooks on it. And I write out everything I do about a week in advance. And it makes it easier that we have a theme of the month. So this month's theme is half guard, but every week I plan out what aspect I'm going to be teaching in all my classes. So I'll write out all my classes and what I want to teach. So I'll start with the week's goal, basically. I want them to be able to utilize the dogfight position well. So like the first few classes would probably be getting there, and then it's what to do from there, a few different options, and how to defend that position, a few different options. And I just rinse and repeat that all the way through. And then we'll also talk to each other. I'll talk to Professor Steve or Livingston and Luke and see what they're going over, so our lessons complement each other in some way. Even though we're all going to be going over half guard, we still want them to fit together.
Got you. Makes sense. And then like, so you go to Dallas and then you go to like a different location to train. Is that like because like you have like meet like a higher level people you can train with to like iron sharps iron kind of situation?
That's exactly it.
Got you.
Especially, jiu-jitsu is a sport right now where you don't have to be a professional. Does that make sense?
No.
If you're an NFL player, what do you do?
I mean, you play football.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah.
You play football.
Yeah.
Even if you are the top tier jiu-jitsu athlete, there are a lot of them that, yeah, they won. And then on Monday, they go to their job.
Right.
They're a nurse, a firefighter, an engineer,
right.
A gym owner.
Yeah.
Which, you know, a gym owner, you're still involved in the community, you're still grappling, but that's a job.
Yeah.
If you are doing jiu-jitsu, even at a high class level right now, you're not generally just doing jiu-jitsu.
Unless like Gordon Ryan or something.
Unless you're Gordon Ryan. So for those of us that really need to, it goes back to creating training time with intention and taking advantage of the time you have. We have an opportunity to go and train with individuals that are at the highest level. They are at the top of their game. Why would we not take advantage of that instead of sitting on the couch twiddling our thumbs? We could make a 3-hour drive and make the most out of this 2 hours training session with these amazing individuals with a different style, a different training methodology, and different insight into our goals. Mm-hmm. That's a great investment.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we do it. Plus, yes, the iron sharpens iron mentality. You need somebody to take you down a peg at all times.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And then like from other side of perspective, right? So like when we like at the forge or like when you're practicing a rolling situation, like a wall drill, whatever. And then sometime when I see you, like you're the next, right? I'm like, oh damn, I got Austin. And then like my head goes to like, man, I'm not gonna be good practice. And then for you, and then like I see like somebody who's like next to me is probably better. Like, why don't you go? You know what I mean? But like, it's that like, what do you think about like going to like a lower level belt people, or like then like a lower level belt mentality should be like? Is that be better to like let other people go and then like choose like a kind of similar level? So does that make sense? My questions are.
I see what you're saying. It's a big question. So first, if it's a class and it's not competition practice, that is not our time to train as an instructor or a higher level belt.
Gotcha.
It's your class. It's our job to help you get better. Especially during a line drill like that, like you're describing, where we're all starting in a specific position and people are coming off the wall and they're trying to practice a specific position. That's actually the best for both upper level belts and lower belts. Because if I just roll with you, I can make it good training for me, or I can make it good training for you. So if it was good training for me and we're just doing a round, I'm going to not concede anything. I'm going to decide what I want to practice, and I'm going to pass your guard 72 times or get a submission 17 times.
Yeah.
And sometimes that needs to happen. Sometimes during a round, that's what's going to happen.
Right.
Especially before tournaments, because mentality, I have to keep, me personally, I have to keep a wall up of I'm not going to give away a position.
Yeah.
During a line drill, that wall can come down. That's why it's the best. I can start us and I'll be in an inferior position and you'll be in a dominant position. And then I have to work out of it at the same intensity that I would if we were rolling. And you have to try and keep it with the same intensity that you would if we were rolling. But you got there. What are the chances you're going to get to a dominant position during a round if I don't want you to be there?
Yeah, that's true.
It's very low.
Yeah.
That's why those line drills are the best.
Yeah.
So it's not, there isn't somebody else that would be better practice at all. It's for you. Those classes, if they're not competition practice, they're for the person trying to learn, not the person teaching. And those line drills help both people achieve their goals. I have to work out. You have to work out. And there's not really even a win or a lose. I know it feels like it, especially when you can submit each other.
Yeah.
But if you go to the wall, generally you're just practicing the top position. If you're in the middle, it's way harder work because you're practicing the inferior position. So you're just practicing a different position over and over and over again.
That totally makes sense. What is like, so is that the mentality? Like, what is the best advice you were given as far as going to jiu-jitsu training? Like, don't give out the position, or like, is there like anything that one best advice you ever got to, like, as a mentality wise going to a training?
Because my goal is competitive, the best piece of advice I got was geared towards that. It wasn't really geared towards learning. It was geared towards
winning.
Well, not even winning, but competition. And that was to have a plan. And really, it was Carl and Livingston that helped snap that piece into place and make it happen. So having a plan is really what helped. And I didn't learn that till I was a brown belt. That's why I talk about it a lot in class.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be way easier if you can nail that down as like a blue belt.
Yeah.
So having a starting point and having an end point for your round or for your plan. There are days to play and there are days to experiment. But if you have an A game, if you have a tournament coming up, you should have a plan. For example, mine is always the same generally. I have only three or four submissions that I go for in tournaments. I only have 2 or 3 takedowns that I go for. I only have one or two guard pulls. And I have 1 or 2 passes that I can force a lot of different ways, but they're only 1 or 2. So I have my starting point. I'm going to start the round this way. I have my end point. I'm going to end the round this way. And then everything in the middle kind of just happens. You can't plan for a round or a match or a fight. Obviously, there's too much chaos, but you can have a starting point and you can have an end point. And that helped tremendously.
So that's almost like if you make a plan, if you can execute your plan, you will automatically win.
Yeah.
So that's like that's an interesting way to think about it.
Not even a whole plan, but just a starting point. If you and I are starting a round and I am going out with the attitude of, I'm going to see what happens. But you're coming out with the attitude of, I'm going to hit this single leg, I'm going to put him on his butt, and then I'm going to pass with a knee slice.
Yeah.
That's just how you want the match to start. But because you already know what you're going to do, it's going to be way easier for you to exert that will on me because I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm already behind.
Huh.
So I can use talent, athleticism, and skill to try and react to you. But if we're the same skill level, my reactiveness is not going to beat your proactiveness.
Makes sense. Always offense. Getting in it. I mean, that's kind of similar to even like MMA fight. And then you have done MMA fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then me and Devin talked about this the whole time. It's like, you know, like you see like a Khabib, and then like he's good at wrestling, dominate the world. And then we train with like he's OSU champ or whatever, used to be. And then like, well, when he went to MMA, he probably could have won, you know, then went to UFC, right? And then we look at you and then like, you're super good at jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. If you go to MMA, you will kill it, you know? So why wouldn't you go do MMA?
I don't like getting punched in the face. It's that easy.
Really?
I'm not good at striking. I like to learn it. I like learning new things, but I don't like getting punched in the face. I don't see a lot of career options for me. And whenever I would do a fight camp, it's just me getting punched in the face because I already know how to wrestle. I know how to do jiu-jitsu. That would just be maintenance work. The whole camp would be me trying to get better at striking, which means I'm just getting punched and kicked. And that's awful. I'm not a fan. And then besides that, career opportunity-wise, it's not my dream. I don't have a dream of fighting people in a cage in my underwear. I don't look down at all on people that do because it's awesome. I love to watch it. I love to be involved. I like to train. It's just not my dream to do that because I like living here. In Oklahoma, there's not a whole lot of opportunity to make it out and be a really big MMA star. It's not impossible, but it's way more difficult than me doing what I really love, which is grappling, competing in grappling, and teaching.
You say what is your dream?
I want to structure my life so I can train jiu-jitsu and grapple most of the time and live comfortably.
Isn't that what you're doing right now, though?
I know, it's awesome. How can I get better?
So like I was curious, like you want to be like a Gordon Ryan, that kind of stuff, or like
I would like to be one of the best in the world, and I intend to make it happen. So it's just going to take a little bit.
That is awesome. So that let me ask this question. That so 2018, what were you doing in 2018?
2018, I was starting my training camp for Ironman Phoenix, Ironman Arizona.
Oh, cool. So I like to ask this question for any segment. That what is advice you give yourself to 5 years ago yourself?
Eat more food.
Eat more food.
Eat more food.
Was that you weren't eating food back then?
No, I wasn't. When you grow up as a kid that was pretty fat and then you lose a bunch of weight, personally, it's hard for me to eat enough for my activity level. And I was not eating enough back then, and it led to some detrimental effects. It was hard for me to train. I wasn't feeling good. And I just was stubborn and pushed through it. It would have been way easier if I had just eaten more and probably more enjoyable. Who doesn't like to eat?
Yeah, that's true. Like, do you think, I was curious that like people do jiu-jitsu don't really cut weight, right? Like some I see like a Mikey, what's the guy's name? Like he's Italian or something.
Musumeci?
Yeah, like he's like a smaller guy, and then like he's like a go to compete in like a one championship or whatever, and then like he's lean, and then he could bulk up, but he doesn't, right? But like for Jake, I was talking to him, like he just wanted to feel strong, and then that's better, you know what I mean? So like what's your take on like weight training, strength training for jiu-jitsu? Because like MMA stuff, you kind of want to cut to compete, right? Because like I'm walk around like 165, and then I cut to 45 because I don't want it to be necessary bulk up to be 180 to be 170 because of my height and all that kind of stuff. So like, what is your take on like ideal strength, I guess, or like body fat percentage, or like, I don't know, like what's maybe that question I should be asking better question. But do you understand like what my question is?
I think I kind of get what you're going for. First, it's hard for jiu-jitsu people to cut weight. It's always beneficial to be at the top of your weight class.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of our tournaments, a lot of our events are day of weigh-ins.
Yeah.
So you're weighing in 20, 30 minutes before you have to grapple or before you have to compete.
Yeah.
So if it's any more than 5 pounds, 6 pounds of water weight, you're going to feel terrible. You can't rehydrate in the 20 minutes between when you weigh in and when you compete.
Yeah.
So if you're cutting weight and it's a day before weigh-in situation, you should definitely cut as much as you need to get to the top of the weight class.
Right.
But because we have to deal with these day of weigh-in situations, being at the top of your weight class generally means getting stronger or losing 1 or 2 pounds, dieting down.
Got you.
So strength training is incredibly important, in my opinion, because you need to be strong enough to withstand any sort of water cut that you're going to do. And you have to protect yourself. The smaller you are, the more fragile you are. And that's going to depend on your height and your build. But when I'm 205 pounds, I am a lot more durable than when I'm 195 or 190. I feel safer. I don't get as sore. I'm stronger on the mat. You just have more tissue protecting you. So in a lot of these jiu-jitsu situations, it's probably going to be more beneficial if you're sitting in the middle of a weight class to go to the top of the one you're currently at. Especially if it's only 5 pounds, you can gain 5 pounds of mass pretty easily and get used to it.
Yeah.
As opposed to dropping the 5 to 10 to get to the top of the one below you.
That makes sense. What weight would you work out or walk around?
I walk around 198 or 200. I tried cutting to medium heavy for the gi because in IBJJF, the gi weights are different than the no gi weights because you have to weigh in the gi.
Oh.
So I have to be about 190 pounds to make the gi weight for medium heavy. And I can do it. It just takes too much energy. It takes too much out of me. That's 10 pounds of water weight, basically. 8 pounds of water weight that I have to lose and then try and hydrate enough in the 10, 20 minutes I have before I compete.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. So I'm just sitting at 200, 205, and I'll compete as a heavyweight in the gi.
That
And
makes
then
sense.
no gi, it's super easy. The weight limit's 202. So I just walk in and wear what I weigh.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I didn't know that you have to wear gi too. How much pound is gi?
My gi, you can get some light gis, but mine is about, all in all, gi belt, 2 to 3 pounds.
Got you. Do you have like a favorite gi brand like you recommend to everybody to wear?
Not really. I usually tell people to get what's cheapest. A lot of my gis are from Amazon.
Yeah.
And they were on sale.
Yeah, me and Mike was talking about which gi is the best and all that kind of stuff.
You should definitely get a gi you like to wear.
Yeah.
There are a few that fit different. When I was growing up, I was lankier. Like I was tall because I lost all that weight. So Lanky is our gi brand, and they have sizes that fit real nice. They have A2 longs, so they're cut like an A2, but they're a little bit longer in the arm and the pant. They're nice quality. I wear King's brand, King's gis, and they're really nice. I like the way they feel. Those are probably my top 2. And then any gi I can get cheap.
That's awesome. What about how do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years, hopefully I'll be a black belt. That'll be super nice.
I mean, aren't you supposed to be black belt? I mean, are you like a number one in the world?
Hey, barring any catastrophic world or personal health event,
Yeah.
I should be there.
Yeah.
After that, I expect to be one of the best in the world. I'm going to be working towards that at black belt, especially black belt adult. That would be a huge accomplishment that I want to achieve. Probably going to get another dog.
Nice. Yeah, how many dogs do you have?
I only have one right
cool.
now. She needs a friend.
Yeah, probably. So where can people find you? Or like how can people support your passion and then like the dream to become the one of the best?
So Instagram is probably the best way. You can follow me at @Morris_BJJ, or you can go to our gym page, The Forge BJJ, and check out all our content on both those avenues. And then after that, come try out a class. Come train with us at The Forge. All the instructors also offer private lessons. So if group classes aren't your thing, you can dip your toes in a little bit with some private classes with any one of the instructors and get involved in the sport a little bit.
What does a private lesson look like?
All the instructors run them different, but it depends on what you want. I've had people come to me with specific problems like, Austin, I want to learn how to do this north-south choke and how to get there. Well, that's easy. Okay. We take an hour and we go over it. And then there are other people who just say, I want to get better. And so I'll make a plan and we will go through that lesson. So a plan like that where you don't have anything specific that you really want to go over, like ankle lock escapes or north-south chokes. I'll put together a plan for what we want to go over. We'll start with a little bit of warm-up. We'll go over probably 2 or 3 techniques, and that's it, because in my experience, that's about all a brain can really handle.
Yeah.
I'll video the technique, so we'll put a camera up and we can video what we go over so you can have it and you don't forget it. You can watch it if you want to. And then at the end, we'll do some positional startup or some rounds where we can stress test the material that we went over a little bit. So that's how I do it. A lot of the instructors are pretty similar with our approaches to private lessons. And we usually do them in hour increments unless it's otherwise specified that it needs to be different, to half hour or something like that.
Cool. I might do that. But
Sounds
also, I was curious that people who are starting jiu-jitsu is like real hard, right? To get into like, for example, brand new people. Would you recommend brand new people to like take a private lesson first so they know something so that they can go to class and roll?
Only if they have the ability to do so financially and time-wise.
Got you.
A basics class or an all levels class will be more than enough if that's what you're comfortable with to get into it. Especially, I know at the Forge, we're not going to just throw you into deep water and make you roll and spar on your first day. That would be awful. When you do roll on your first day or your first week, we're going to walk you through it. You're going to be with an instructor or an experienced student, and we're going to say, okay, we're here. Your goal is to get around the legs. Try and do that. Or, all right, we're working on half guard. We're going to start in half guard, and I want you to try and use what we learned today. So it'll be more situational until you have some more tools in your toolbox, and then you will be able to fly.
Awesome.
Break out of the shell a little bit.
That totally makes sense. Well, thanks for coming in, Austin. And then thanks everybody for watching. This was To Be Frank podcast episode 23. Let me know in the comment of what you learned about jiu-jitsu or like what you guys want to learn more about, and then maybe ask Austin a question in the comment section. And then please like and comment. If you guys are listening to a podcast platform, please give me a 5-star review. I think that will help the platform, so we'll see what happens. Well, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next Friday. Peace.